Hi, Facebook Live. Hello to this wonderful group. Just going to wait a couple minutes to see if anybody else pops on this live with us tonight, and then we'll get right to it. So today is day 2 of our 3-day free challenge, going from how to implement self-care to living the life you absolutely love. So I'm super excited to dig in this juicy topic in regards to boundaries and values and how this all kind of comes together and joins together in regards to self-care, knowing yourself, knowing your boundaries, knowing why you react a certain way. And I can't wait to get into it with you guys. So, like I said, I'll just wait a minute or two to see if anybody comes on here, and then we're going to hop right into it. But for those who don't know me and who's going to be catching the replay, my name is Cara Wray, and I am a mindset coach for mothers who are ready to strip away the mom guilt and own their ambition in business and family life. So how was everybody's day? My day was relaxing. Hi, Mom. I love that you pop on these videos. Guys, I have an amazing support system, and my mother is one of them, and I am so grateful for her. She's also an amazing coach, and she's a lot of my inspiration, guys. So I'm super grateful to have her on here. Hi, Mom. I want to see if I can wave back. Supposedly there's this way that you can wave back at people. And I got the computer to work, by the way, which is super awesome because you were on here last night when I was talking about this. So, well, we're going to be at 2 minutes, so I'm going to get to it. So, I guess because you popped on, we're talking about boundaries and values today and the importance that it carries with self-care and implementing this life that you absolutely love. So, yeah. Well, within this training, this challenge, I'm going to be talking about different viewpoints, I guess, like my viewpoint in regards to why I would react a certain way, or what boundary or what value that's crossing, and why I would act a certain way, or why I wouldn't take care of myself, and when there's a lack of boundaries, and also when there's healthy boundaries. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what a boundary is, what a value is, and what that means to you. So, also, I just want to point out, if anybody else pops on this video, please say hi. Say hi. Sorry, I'm just expanding this, and I have a glare because I wear glasses. This is lovely. So basically, we're going to start digging into it. So boundary marks a limit of an area. So if you have a boundary, so say with your kids, do you allow your kids to yell at adults? No, that is a boundary. So that boundary, when it's crossed, what do? Do you feel anger? Do you feel frustrated? Do you feel all of those emotions? Do you feel upset? Do you feel disrespected? That's a boundary. And then wherever your value lies within how important that boundary is to you is how you're going to feel and how you're going to give a reaction. And a lot of people don't understand that when other people are around, so say you were at a dinner, for example. So I've been to dinners with friends, and I have different values than some of my friends, and that's okay because we're all different. We're all unique human beings. But I know that sometimes some things kind of frustrate me a little bit. So I've been to a dinner where, it was a fancy dinner, and these children were yelling and screaming, and now I look back at it, and I give so much kudos to this mom for just being so chill and just, being whatever. But it was very different to me at the time. And at this time, I didn't have any kids. And so I didn't understand that giving them a little bit of break, not putting all your energy into that is okay because it's also helping you. But at that time, it really drove me nuts. And because to me, it felt like it was breaking my boundary in regards to, respecting someone and my values. So I valued respect, and I felt like that wasn't respectful. So that's just kind of like a little, what's the word I'm looking, example. There we go. So, and then a value. So a value is a person's principle or standard of behavior. So this is what's important to you in life. So I'm going to dig into this deeper, but in regards to, I've been talking with a couple women about why they haven't gotten to a certain point in their life where they're like, why me? Why haven't I gotten there? I don't understand why I've gotten there. Well, do you value being comfortable, or do you value taking risks? Because if you value being comfortable, you will not excel yourself into a different area. You will not push yourself further into a different area if you do not value taking a risk. If you value staying comfortable more than you value doing that, this is how you're going to understand yourself and how you're going to launch yourself into self-care, how you're going to launch yourself in your business, with your family, and communication. Setting your boundaries and values are extremely, extremely important, and we're going to continue with this. So I want you guys to do an exercise. So I had asked yesterday for people to bring a piece of paper, and so tonight you needed a piece of paper as well, and this one was just to write out sorry, where is it? Oh yeah, there's 2 challenges in this one, guys. Surprise! So the first challenge that I have for you, which can be really difficult for some people, as it was extremely difficult for myself when I first looked at this, because no one ever asked me before, what are my boundaries and values? I had never had this conversation with anybody before. And so when someone said to me, well, what do you value? I was like, what the hell do you mean, what do I value? I value life. And they said to me that I wasn't being specific enough. Like, I wasn't actually digging deeper into what I valued as a whole. And so what I challenge you to do is I challenge you to try to write down 3 values. And then I want you to expand on that and see where a boundary would come into play there. So say I value accountability. So I do value accountability, and I value people showing up and being present. And I, just like with my coach, she also values accountability. So if I don't show up, I'm letting her down. I'm letting down, she has a value, and it's a value that I'm crossing, which then is crossing a boundary, because that boundary for her is she has it in place for a specific time, just how myself with meetings that I set up or calls that I have. There's accountability there. We all have lives and we all go through things. So accountability is one of my values. And I knew this because when people didn't show up, when people didn't make the effort to let me know that they weren't showing up, it really hurt me. It really hurt me. It hurt my feelings, and I felt that I was not important enough to this person. So I don't know if anybody can relate there, but I'm sure that most people can. When people don't show up or don't tell you that they aren't showing up, it hurts because you want people to give you the time of day. So that's my challenge to you, is to write out 3 values, and then I want you to expand and try your best to figure out how that might cross a boundary, or how you can put up a healthy boundary to respect that value that you have. So if you value excelling in your business, and so you value business, what is it going to take for you to get there? You need to figure that out. And by putting down a boundary, by saying, like, you know, I'm all in, I'm going to do everything that I can, and I'm going to get there. You're setting a boundary. So if you know more about why these things are there, you can implement them, and they'll help you throughout your business, your family, with your children, with your husband, with your spouse, with other relationships, with your friends. It will help. So, so I guess another topic I want to go into is, you know, I had touched on the topic of being a parent, and if you had ever felt at that time, this mom was super chill, and I was very jealous of that. And now I've got to the point where I understand where she's coming from, but it took me time. I had to have kids and get to this point. So as a mother, because this is geared towards moms, have you ever felt judged by the way you parent? So has somebody ever judged you for the way you parent? And what did this leave you feeling? Did you feel defensive? Did you feel angry? Did you feel frustrated? Did you feel sad, scared, worried? Did you not care at all? Like, this has to do with values as well. So if somebody is disrespecting your parent, so from another parent's perspective, if there was another parent disrespecting my parent right in front of me, this would not fly very well, because I respect other people's boundaries and values and what they have in place, and I would hope that they honor my own. And so if someone was rude about it, this is when things would get not frustrating, but I'm a very stern, not stern, what's the word I'm looking for? I stand up for myself. I'm confident in what I know and what I do, and so I politely talk to this person about pushing this conversation to another side, because I respect them, and we'll just leave it at that. And then we usually try to move on through the situation, but I'm going off on a little tangent here. But I want to know, have you ever felt judged? And if you have felt judged, why? Why did you feel judged? What did you feel? What did you go through? Knowing this, knowing why you reacted a certain way, why you felt a certain way, what somebody did to upset you, these are all extremely important, because eventually those things aren't going to matter anymore. You're going to realize that you gave so much energy to a person that didn't deserve that energy, that you were angry with the situation. You know, myself and my husband had this situation come up with, I'm not going to exactly dabble into who, but somebody that was extremely important to him at some point in his life. And we constantly butted heads. There was boundaries that were crossed. There were, things that I valued in regards to being communication, respect, accountability. Those things were all being kind of like punched in the face every day, and it became really hard and it weighed on ourselves. But I wasn't standing tall in what I knew. I wasn't being confident in who I was as a person, and nor was my husband, until one day it was weighing so heavily on us that we said, enough's enough. Like, we know what we want. We know that, like, who we are, that we deserve respect, that we can stand tall in what we know. And so we did. And let me tell you, that changed our life completely. Now it took work, because people will push, and people will push your boundaries. They'll push your buttons. They'll push everything. We're human. We're different. We're unique. And this is what we do. We don't mean to always do it on purpose, but this is the whole part of knowing yourself, so that you know how you can react, so you can control your reaction, because your reaction is what makes other people react and can turn a small, tiny situation into something absolutely massive for no reason. And so knowing yourself, knowing who you are as a person, knowing what ticks you off, what makes you happy, what makes you sad, what makes you angry, all these things are extremely important to know how you can respond to certain situations. I don't know. Mom, you're watching. If you can feel this, give me some love. If not, it's totally cool. But so then we can go into, so I'm going to talk about a couple of values for myself. And I value, so we had already talked about how I value accountability. Now, I also value money. I value finances. I value knowing where my finances are, making sure that I have a budget. I used to be scared of spending money, but that's a whole other topic in itself. And money is abundant, and it always comes. It always comes, guys. So, but I value money, and I value talking about money in a very positive manner now, where prior I used to always say, oh, I'm broke, oh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and oh, my life, and I would have a negative relationship with money. And so I've started to change that relationship with money into something new. And now I'm seeing a lot more of it, because I'm respecting and I'm honoring what I value, and I value money. I value being able to go out and spend some money on myself. I value being able to put a roof over our head, to put groceries on our table. I value it. I'm grateful for it. And so that is, money actually sits at the very top of my value system. Some people, it might not, but for me it does, because I know that that prior, if I only had $2 in my bank account, I'd be frustrated, I'd be angry, I would piss off so many people, not intentionally, but I would just be so miserable to be around. And that's not fun. So now the second one that I value is respect. Now, personally, I feel like we live in a world where respect isn't always given, and it breaks my heart. And it's not like respect always has to be given to someone who's disrespecting you, but it is super important to be respectful and to just talk kindly and spread positivity. So somebody else popped on here. Ooh, Stafia. Hey, girl. How are you today? I sent you that video, by the way. I'll be messaging you after. But by the way, Stasia, we're talking about boundaries and values. Super juicy topic. So, and I'm going through some of my important values. And Gina, you said absolutely agreed. Yes. So, I was talking about respect, and I value my children also showing respect to myself, to their grandparents, to their family, to Joe Schmo walking down the street. Every person deserves respect, and every person is unique, and they are deserving of kindness. And so respecting someone, being polite, saying hello, not running away from them. We've had to talk to the kids about a few things and how, because at one point I said to them, like, if somebody's walking across the street, it's okay to wave and say hi. And the one day they said, we can't talk to strangers. So I was like, okay, we have said it's not okay to talk to strangers. I'm talking about when we're not home and someone knocks on the door that you don't know. Yeah, you don't answer the door just simply for your own safety, because there's no adults home. But if you're walking down the street, or you're walking with your brother, or you're walking with me, I don't want them to be scared to say hello to somebody. And I realized that I needed to talk to them deeper about other people when they told me that they were scared to say hello to somebody across the street, that I made them fearful of that. And so I had to be aware of that and change that and help them work through that and talk to them about it. And so I value respect. And now this third one is huge. This one, I kind of flip-flops through like my level system here, but communication has been huge. I value communication extremely. So growing up, I dealt with a lot of people who would avoid me because I was really honest with them, and I would tell them how I felt, or I would tell them how I thought a situation might turn out. And I wasn't doing it to be negative. I was doing it just to show them like a bigger picture of something. And so people used to not communicate very well with me. They would kind of avoid the conversation because I don't know, they thought I was being a little too blunt. I can be very blunt, but we have one life. And so I find it super important to, stuff is, to me, it's black and white. It's like, if something's wrong, it's wrong. If something's right, it's right. There's no like right or wrong there. It's not like, yeah, maybe it was right. No, if something is wrong and something is right, it's pretty simple. So I always don't like the term everything's black and white, because it isn't always, but in regards to communication, you either communicate or you don't. So that is black and white. You either are going to or you're not going to. And if you do communicate and you do express how you feel, it's going to help greatly. And I'm going to talk about that in regards to my marriage. Me and my husband, we were not communicating with each other. We were getting angry with one another. I was asking him to do all these things, like take the garbage out or clean the house, or I wasn't asking him to those things and thinking he was psychic. And okay, that's just not cool, because he's not. And I was making him feel bad for the things that he couldn't read my mind about. And I was not communicating with him. It was the same with our sex in our marriage. I was not communicating with him about what I wanted, where I wanted this to go. He wasn't either. And I could go deeper into the whole sex train here, but it's important that you communicate on all levels when it comes to how you feel about your kids, what sort of discipline you like to do, what you enjoy in bed. That's super important too. Also, what you need to communicate how you feel, what you want to do. So if you want to travel, if you don't want to travel, what if you want to get a new vehicle, like the very simplest things. Say you want to go out and go for a girls' night. I got to communicate with my husband. I don't always sit there and ask him for his permission, but I do let him know what's going on. And I do say, hey, can this work? Are you busy this night? Because we need to make sure that we're on the same page here. And And so communication is huge, because if you don't communicate and you don't express how you feel, how is the other person supposed to know? How is anybody supposed to know how you feel if you just keep it all in? That's how you get stressed. That's also how you get burnt out. That's also how you have emotional breakdowns. I'm sure a lot of people have had the point where they just felt stuck and lost and confused and this big ball of emotion, and they don't know how they got there. Well, you weren't communicating. You weren't telling people what was going on with you. You weren't putting up a boundary. Communication is huge with boundaries too. How are you supposed to put up a boundary and tell people what you feel if you don't talk about it? Let's just call a spade there. So then another one of mine is I value my family. So before I had a family, well, actually, yeah, before I had a family, I always dreamed of having a family, having children, having a husband, having a home, and owning a business. And I'm here now, and I'm embodying that, and I'm doing these things, and I'm going all in on what I want in my dreams. But I value family because I value spending time with them. And, you know, prior I would hang out with a few friends, and once I got pregnant and my family started to grow, they stopped inviting us to things. They stopped including me. I all of a sudden stopped getting messages from people. It was like I just didn't exist. And that's when I knew that even I spend a lot of time with my family, with my mom, with my dad, with my stepmom, because I value those relationships with them. And when I was younger, when I was in high school, and I used to play the whole, oh, I'm a tough kid card, I wasn't as close with my dad. And now I have an extremely close relationship. And I want them to be able to spend time with their grandkids. And I love spending time with my family. It just lights me up, makes me happy, and it's great. So I don't know how you feel about family, but family is huge for me. And I'm thinking that most of you value family because you all talk about wanting to spend time with your family, wanting to spoil your family, wanting to do things with your family. And so family's big. And you can value your family and set up healthy boundaries with your family when still taking care of you. And we'll talk deeper into that soon. But then so I talked about accountability and how I value people being accountable and showing up when they say they're going to be there. I don't need to go deeper into that. It's just be accountable for your actions. If you do something that's, let's say, disrespectful, just own up to it. If you tell someone you're going to be somewhere and then you're not showing up, just be honest with them and tell them that maybe something came up, or let them know. Most people are fairly understanding if you just give them a chance. So now my last value is I value honesty. So just like communication and accountability, I value people being honest and just telling me the truth. You know, sometimes we all are human and we all make mistakes in life, and that is okay. This is life. It's a learning experience. We're given certain situations in our life to learn from them, and if we didn't make mistakes, how would we move forward? How would we excel? We wouldn't, really. We would just be stuck on the same train and really wouldn't be going anywhere fun. So I value people being honest, and I'm a very easygoing person where if somebody does lie to me or does something that's dishonest, I just want them to tell me. I just want them to own up to the fact that they made a mistake and that they're sorry. Now, I won't always get that, so I know that sometimes that can push some of my boundaries and it pushes a value, and so I know how to respond with that, and I know where I stand, where I'm always honest with people, where if they choose not to be honest, where I say, you know, I'm not a person who wants to hold in anger, and I'm a person who forgives and moves forward and lets go, because I don't want to sit in a space of constantly holding on to something. And so if you choose to be honest, I will listen to it. If not, we're still going to let it go. Even if I don't get it from the person, even if someone does not choose to be honest with me, I have to learn to let it go, because I can hold it here always and it'll make me miserable. And I don't think nobody wants that. At least I personally don't want that. And I've taken a lot of time in the last couple months here now, really learning how to let things go, how to realize them, recognize them, process them, and then let them go. And honesty has something to do with that. So now I want to talk about how, like, setting boundaries is also, it's a crucial step in applying self-care, and it helps establish your identity, so who you are. And so if you, and also it helps with your mental health. So there's also the difference between physical and emotional boundaries, and we'll get further into that. But, you know, with a lack of boundaries, so have you ever felt if you don't have your boundaries, this might be kind of how you feel. So you feel lost. You kind of don't know who you are. You're jumping back and forth. You feel like you need to go on this adventure to find yourself. And that means there was a lack of a boundary at some point in your life that allowed you to get to a point that you don't know yourself. So you feel lost and insecure. So another one for a lack of boundaries is you're spending time with the wrong people. So there was a time when I grew up where I was spending time with the wrong people. I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. They were getting into drugs, alcohol, tons of it was just not a good crowd. Now, I'm very happy that I was still a pretty good kid. But there were still times where I let peer pressure get in the way, and I'm sure most of us have had that. Most of you have had this happen to you, where peer pressure happens and comes along and we give into it. And so spending time with the wrong people that aren't respecting your boundaries, or if you say no, people who don't respect the boundary of you saying no, that's a big one. If someone doesn't respect that, that is not a person you want to be spending your time with. I'm super confident when I say this, that if the people that you should spend your time with will respect when you say yes and respect when you say no, because they also want the ability to say yes and no. So another lack of boundaries is the feeling of stress, the feeling of overwhelm, the feeling of burnout. You get, this is a lack of boundary. So say you're starting to get tired and you're like, no, I'm just going to keep working. I'm just going to keep working. And you do this day in and day in and day out. And then all of a sudden you get to a point where you're stressed. You can't come up with anything. You can't come up with your content. It's seeping through in your business. It's seeping through in your family life. That's a lack of a boundary. You got to take some time for you. I had to learn this because I was not following this. I was not following through with that. I was literally constantly allowing myself to just keep going and keep going and keep going, thinking that I was like, I don't know, that I could do everything at all times and all hours and never sleep. And that caught up with me really quick, and I burnt out really fast. And it was not just a mental burnout. It was emotional. It was physical. It was everything. And it weighed heavily on my body. So that's a lack of boundary if you're doing that to yourself. So it took time to learn, to process, to let go of not always having to be on social media, or not, also making sure I put in the right slots of times for when I felt that I could get the most out of my business. My daughter naps. So I monopolize the heck out of that time when she's napping, because after I want to be present with her. So why the heck don't I monopolize the 2 hours, and then the 2 hours later that she's napping, I do that. And so even tonight, before I did this, before I planned the times, I talked to my husband and I said, hey, I got this training that I'm going to be providing to amazing women in this challenge, and I need to set aside this amount of time for them. You cool with that? 100%. He was cool with it. But I needed to make sure, because we have children, and I don't want to put that all on him if he's also having a stressful day, or if he's also tired, but he knew this was coming and he prepared himself for it. That is setting up a boundary. That is also valuing his opinion, himself as a whole. I guess another lack of boundary is the need for control. Okay, so I talked about this actually in our first training, and about myself and how I had the need for control when I was going through postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, and didn't know what was going on with me. I had this extreme need of control to clean, that it became like an OCD behavior where I couldn't stand things being on the floor, even just toys. If my kids were having fun and playing, it would drive me nuts. And I didn't want to get to that point, but I had an over-obsessive need to control, because I couldn't control everything else that was going on in my life, because I didn't have healthy boundaries set up. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't filling my own cup. I wasn't saying no when I needed to say no when I was feeling tired. And then I wasn't saying yes to the things I wanted to say yes to, because I didn't want to let somebody else down, or I wasn't following what I wanted to do business-wise because I thought that everybody else would think that it was silly. So I wasn't respecting myself, and I wasn't setting up my own boundaries, which then, had the inability of saying yes and saying no. So that's what it feels like to have a lack of boundaries. Now, I want to talk about when you'll see signs of having a healthy boundary. Because, so the first thing is I'm talking about stripping the mom guilt. This was huge. This is something I had to work through. And this is what I know other moms are going through. Other mothers are struggling through their business, through their family life, and trying to find this balance. And when you have set up a healthy boundary, you are going to say no with no guilt. Someone's going to say something to you and you're going to say, no, I'm not feeling it. I don't want to do that. And you're not going to feel guilty about saying that. And so then you're also, so I talked about communication and how when you set up a healthy boundary, you're going to communicate them. You're going to talk about them, especially with your children, your spouse, close relationships that you have. And you're going to ask for what you want and what you need. You're going to make it clear. You're going to tell them, like me and my husband, I tell him straight out, I need this from you. We're not communicating. We're not getting this together. And I want us to become closer together. And so we're very clear on what we want and what we need. And so then another sign of a healthy boundary is you taking care of you. So a healthy boundary of taking care of yourself it's so incredibly needed, because you have one body, you have a heart that is beating inside, you have a mind up here, you have eyes that see, ears that hear, nose that smells, and you were given this body. You were given this body to love it, to take care of it, to nourish it, to do what makes you happy. And so taking care of yourself is incredibly important. Your mind, body, and soul want it, and they need it. So now, in regards to saying no, you're also going to healthily say yes. And this means saying yes to yourself in regards to investing in yourself, pushing yourself forward. You saying yes to yourself is, it's incredibly amazing. When you actually take that leap and you do say yes to yourself, whether that's investing in yourself, going on a trip, buying that new purse, going and getting your nails done, your hair did, something where you're saying yes to you, it's going to make you feel good. Or to those that I know that go to the gym, if they feel like, man, I don't think I want to go to the gym, and then they push themselves to go, then they feel so kick-ass when they're done. That's because they said yes to themselves. So another thing is respecting your boundaries and your values. So knowing your values. So when you've placed healthy boundaries, you know what your values are, because then you know how you respond, how you react to that situation. You're going to feel supported. You're going to feel safe. You're not going to feel stressed. You're going to feel clarity. You're going to feel ambitious. You're going to feel balanced. You're going to feel nourished and excited, and you're gonna feel happy. And today was one of those days where I had my daughter and I had a little boy that I was watching today, and they're both must be going through growth spurts because they nap for 3 hours. And this morning I was able to get a lot of other stuff done, but this afternoon today was a day where I didn't feel like pushing myself. Like, I knew that I wanted to be fully present for you guys. So I was like, you know what? I want to watch a movie. Like, I actually want to watch a movie, and I want to sit down and I really want to feel this. And I remember sitting there like today and just totally loving the fact that I just said yes to myself, even though it was the simplest thing. I sat down on the couch, I watched a movie, and I didn't look at my phone. I literally watched it. Like, I did something for me that felt so good, and a movie that I loved, and I filled my own cup up by doing that. So you'll start to do those things that feel really good, and you won't apologize for it. And I still got everything else done that I wanted to get done today, where some days I feel like I don't have enough time. I had more than enough time today. I got it all done. I figured out the name of something incredible that's coming out. I created a bunch of content. I created this workbook. I journaled. I read. I still cleaned my house, and I took care of babies, and I took care of me. And then I'm still showing up here stronger than freaking ever for you guys, because I want you you to honor this, and I want you to honor yourself. So talking about like not having healthy boundaries, this can also cause like financial burdens and rifts in your relationship. So, you know, I'm going to dive deeper on a different level on something else, but, you know, healthy boundaries just have to do with you knowing you loving you, you respecting you. And so another thing is, you know, talking about hard conversations and communication. So from all areas, my families kind of kept saying, hey, you know, sorry, my husband's dealing with the dogs. They're outside having a blast, I guess, probably with the neighbor's dogs. But anyway, so talking about a healthy boundary. So sometimes you have to have hard conversations, and hard conversations, sometimes people avoid them. And I don't anymore, because I'm standing tall in my values, I'm standing tall in my beliefs, and my parents and my in-laws, and they had all made comments about what we're doing with the kids, what we're not doing with the kids, you know, if one should wear pull-ups or not, if another should be allowed to wear his helmet or not, like all these just random different things. And so one day it came to the point where we're actually talking about pull-ups and talking about children having accidents and being accountable for them. And so my daughter had an accident, and we just talked to her in a polite voice and said, like, you know, you need to let us know when these things happen, because she avoided it and didn't tell us for 2 days, and we had stayed somewhere else. And so we had to clean it and switch the mattress over, and we had to you know, reimburse, fix a few things. So who popped on the video? Oh, Stasia's back, I think. Who's on the video? Please say hi. I can't see. Anyways, so we were talking about like pull-ups, and how we were talking to our daughter, and they were like, oh, well, have you tried giving her a chance? Have you tried not wearing pull-ups? Have you tried talking to her like this? Have you tried doing this? And finally I just sat there and I said, you know what? I love you guys so much for wanting to put your input in here, but these are our children. And you might not agree with everything that we do as parents, but I didn't agree with everything you did when I was young, and you were my parent. And our kids aren't going to agree with everything we do, and I value your opinion, but right now, this is what we feel is right, this is what we want to do, and this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to parent. And I remember my dad sitting across from me being like, okay, sounds good, I respect that. And I was just mind blown. But I stood tall in my boundary. I stood tall in knowing myself as a parent and knowing what I was doing as a parent. And so I just want you guys to step into that if you've ever felt judged by someone else for your parenting, or if you've ever felt like people talk about it, or you just feel like you aren't doing enough or not the right thing. Well, you are. And if you stand tall in those things, people will respect that. They will. They just, sometimes people push you a little bit. So remember, the first challenge was talking about writing down 3 of your values, and then expanding on it and going into what that might push at in a boundary. Now, my second challenge for you, because there was 2 challenges in this, which was a surprise. And so this has to do with you parenting. So this is to me, I think this is a very easy one. I was talking about, you know, loving the way you parent. So this is for moms in this group. And so if you've ever felt compared, if you've ever gone on Facebook and you've looked up things and you thought that you weren't doing enough, like Sally down the street had taken all of her kids on a picnic and everybody smiled so beautifully, and then you had tried to do the same thing, you got a poop explosion and a blown up juice box and like all these things, and it didn't go so well for you, that does not mean that you're a bad mom. It means that you're still a great mom. You're still trying your best to provide everything for them. And I want you to love who you are. I want you to love you. I want you to embrace who you are as a mom. I want you to embrace your parenting. That was my second challenge, was I want you to embrace the hell out of you, because your children want you. They don't want somebody else. When they scratch their leg or get hurt, they come running for you. They don't come running for her. They come running for you. They want you because they love you. When they look at you, they don't see somebody that's imperfect. They see somebody that is perfect, and they love you. And so honor that and honor yourself, that your children look up to you, and they don't think what you're doing is wrong, because even if it might upset them, they might feel hurt, or they still come back to you because they love you and because you've taught them something super important. So I really want you to figure out what those values are, expand on the boundary and how that might be crossing, and I want you to embrace the hell out of yourself and love the hell out of yourself. And this implies with going in and moving into this self-care piece that we talked about yesterday, in the 30 minutes a day, that is incredibly important, and putting in that 30 minutes a day for you, so that you fill your cup, so that you feel good, so that your kids that feed off of your energy, they feel filled up and they feel loved and taken care of. And then own the hell out of how you parent and how you feel about your parenting, or the food that you're feeding them, or if they're sitting down watching TV for 30 minutes. Give yourself a break. Like, you're doing good, and your way of parenting might be drastically different than your best friend, and that is okay, because you are a different person than that person. You have to remember that. You have to remember that you are unique, you are beautiful, you're an amazing mother, and I just want you to know that you should love yourself. Please love yourself. It took me time to figure out and to own myself and to love who I was, and I love who I am. And I love who I am as a mother. I love the fact that I let my children watch TV every once in a while or play on an iPad. And I love the fact that my kids go outside and play, and they go in the swimming pool. We take them out to the lake and we do things with them. I love the way I parent, because my stepson, and I talked about this yesterday, told me he loved me, and he has not told his mother or his father this. This was huge. This was a huge breakthrough, and I knew that I was doing something right. And if I questioned what I was doing and I never continued with it, we probably would not have gotten to this point. So I want you to know that you will see the results that you're looking for. You will, if you just love yourself and you own this and you figure out what your boundaries and values are, and you step into self-care and you really love yourself, you're gonna own yourself. You're gonna own your parenting. So yes. So yesterday's challenge was the 30 minutes a day, and I've heard back from one person on what they're doing and what they're implementing each day. And then I want to hear, I'll post mine actually. I'll go back to that video and I'll post it, but then I want to hear what your values are and what boundary it might cross. And if you don't know, that's okay too. Just be completely transparent about it, because this is what we can work on, because I didn't know right away. So, and do that and own the hell out of who you are. Love the hell out of yourself and own who you are, because you're an amazing mother and you deserve to be told this. And yeah, so that's what this night was all about. This was boundaries and values. And so I hope that you were able to take some information and key pieces away from this. Take some, leave the rest. As one of the coaches that I talk with, Olivia Celine, she goes, take some in and leave the rest. And I love that, because really not everybody's going to resonate with everything. So whatever you do take from this video, I hope you really take to heart, you journal on it, you expand on it. And yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow for the last day of the challenge. And then I have something extremely exciting to talk to you guys about tomorrow night too at the end. So please hang around until then. It's going to be super exciting. It's going to expand on so many things that we're talking about, because this comes from my soul, guys. I don't talk here for, how long are we on here? Almost 44 minutes, because why not? I talk about this because I'm extremely passionate about it, and I have gone through these steps of taking care of myself, these realizations of my boundaries and values, and the ability to receive, and there's so much more that comes into this, but I've stepped into a higher version of myself because I have placed myself first, and in turn, I have also shown up better for my marriage, I've shown up better for my kids, and I have felt better. So on that note, I hope everybody has the most amazing night. And I can't wait to talk to you guys tomorrow. It's going to be so good. So whatever you're doing for the rest of the night, have an awesome one. I am going to relax with my husband. He surprised me with a ton of little snacks. So we're going to have a little snack party and Netflix and chill, because that's what we want to do. and we're watching Twilight movies because we're going back to high school, I guess. Okay, well, have a great night, guys, and I will chat with you guys tomorrow. Okay, bye.